As you can tell, it is another beautiful Michigan day. We went from 70 yesterday to 40 today. It's probably more like 30 right now. So that's lovely. I'm really not wanting to go out and lay on the ground and work on the planter right now. We're gonna try and get away with some shop work. That pesticide delivery is coming between 9 and 2. So we gotta keep an eye out for that as well. Come on, Mac. I tried talking to John Deere this morning to get some parts for the planter, some stuff that I found yesterday, and couldn't get through to the parts department, so that sucks. Oh, that's them calling me back. All right, there we go. I was ordering new bearings for those arms I was telling you about that disengage and engage the clutches. We're just gonna rebuild those bearings on both sides of the planter, and then I also needed marker arm shear bolts because I sheared a marker arm bolt and I only had one actual metric bolt left last year, and so I kept having issues once I started using standard bolts with the heads popping out of the slot in the marker. We can show you guys more of that later when they come, but I've got 4 bolts coming and 4 bearings coming. They had to stock order some stuff, so it's going to be about a week before we see that stuff, which should be fine. I don't plan on planting next week, so we'll be all right. I think we're gonna do some assembly work on these tubes and on the manifolds. We got some fittings to put on the manifolds, and then some push to connects to put on these lines. So I'm just gonna start dinking around with that and figure out how we want stuff. It might take a trip or two out to the planter to see what fittings we want on these, and then I'll show you guys what I got in a little bit. It did not take me long to realize that we've got the wrong fitting here. This should not do this. So these are backwards. This end's 3/8 when this end should be 3/8, and this end is 1/4 when this end should be 1/4. So my guy's getting some more coming. He's just direct shipping them straight here, so we should see them in a few days. I talked to John Deere. Well, I already told you guys, but that stuff's coming in about a week. So, but we did get the fittings on the lines, on the tubes. So because this end, I don't know why they aren't evenly put together on the ends, but these 2 ends are going onto those manifolds. But then this end has to go to tie together and then have one end going down to the furrow jet. So that's what that setup is there. So we got all those put on. The other things we need to do before we can put those metering tubes on, we got to change out the manifolds on the furrow jets, and then we can run the tubes, and then we can wait on putting the manifolds on until we get those fittings and we can put those together. So I'm unsure on what to do next because I don't want to go outside. It's just too cold. Which I wouldn't have been saying that 2 months ago, because 2 months ago this would have been a warm day. But I brought the lift cylinder in off the drill, so we're gonna run through and rebuild this puppy real quick. She's pretty gunked up, so I'll spray down degreaser and get it all cleaned up and then start tearing it down. I should have the seal kit over here. Saw it the other day. Yep. Here you go. If you've ever dissected, or if you've never dissected a hydraulic cylinder before, here's what it looks like when you take the 4 bolts out that were running along the main barrel, and then you pop the end off that the cylinder rides in. You can see here, that is the seal that is leaking currently on here. So technically, we could take everything apart, replace that one seal, put everything back together, and we'd be dandy. But we're not gonna do that. We have the full seal kit. We're gonna do them all while we're in here. So if I remember right, I think there's 2 seals inside there. An external seal to keep contaminants from getting in, and then an internal seal to keep hydraulic oil from getting out. And then we have an O-ring here for sealing up around the barrel. And then we have an O-ring here to keep oil on this side of the cylinder or on this side of the cylinder. So when you move your SCV unit, you're pushing oil. If I was to tell the drill, hey, I need you to go down, you're forcing oil in this end, and this plunger spacer thing is in here, and so you're pushing up against that, and you're pushing the hydraulic cylinder out. And then vice versa, if you go the other way, you're opening the valve on the tractor for there, but you're not putting pressure to it. You're putting pressure on this end and forcing oil in this way and pushing it back that way. So pretty basic piece of machinery when you break it down and really look at it, but obviously when you have never seen the inside, it can seem complicated. I believe there's just an O-ring on that end. I don't think we need to touch that. We'll see how many seals are left in the package when we're done with this end. This should be pretty much the business end. So we do have to take this nut off and slide this unit, this little spacer thing off, so that we can slide this off to get to our inner seals. And you do need a specialty tool for doing those. We have them right over here because they aren't the most pliable things in the world because they are under an extreme amount of pressure. Let me see over here. They're these things. So special seal installer tools, you can find them on Amazon. Ours were like $10. If I can, I'll show you guys putting them in, but it's pretty simple. You're basically taking the round, taking it with this and pinching it. Let's see, it'd be that way. I'm pinching it and making it where it's half round and then back up the other way again to get it in the hole, and then you let it go and it expands. So that's basically how you do it. Otherwise, we've tried doing it with picks and stuff before. You end up breaking seals and wasting a bunch of time. So I recommend, usually I'm not one for specialty tools, but in this case I highly recommend you go and buy that before you mess with a hydraulic cylinder. We're now at bench number 2 so that I don't have to take that other thing out of the vise. You can see in there we've got quite a nasty looking seal in there. So they'll be coming out. But you can see we've been letting paint flakes in for a little while. I spotted this last year and it's been something, that seal kit's been sitting on the shelf for a little bit. And I wanted to have it done. We kept losing time. You know, the wheat or the drill only gets used on wheat and cover crops. And so I was gone spraying all July and August and get back in September and it's like, well, it's time to drill wheat. We got to go. And so this kept getting put on the back burner. So hopefully now we'll be on top of it. Oh, there's also an O-ring in here. The reason why I'm saying is I was completely being oblivious as to what side of the seal the O-ring came out of. I think the O-ring goes on the non-pressure side of the seal. What I mean is, if you're looking from the inside out, I think it's the seal and then the O-ring. The O-ring is acting like a tolerance, I think, for the ram. So, and then the seal is sealing. Maybe not. Because then your O-ring would be dry. I suppose I could look it up. It's probably in the parts Delia Tudor. I'll have to look it up. Bear with me. I'll let you guys know what I figure out. So, what I just did kind of triggered a topic in my mind because it is very hot, and that is AI, and do we really need it or not? Well, I just used Grok to ask that question. I literally speak to it, and within 4 seconds, I have a complete breakdown on how a typical hydraulic cylinder setup, diagrams on how the seals go in, and everything. And basically, I just found out in about 4 seconds that the seal goes in on the high pressure side, the O-ring goes behind the seal where the oil doesn't usually get to, and then if you have a, what are those called, a backer seal, then those go behind the O-ring. So, you can think what you want of AI, but I use it quite a bit. It is a very powerful tool. It works great. I love it, especially in the grain marketing category where I don't know a lot and I can learn from it, and kind of just, if I'm feeling unsure or the markets are in a place where I really don't know what I should do, I can give it all the information on our break-evens, where the market's at now, and it'll look into market insights and everything and kind of give me it'll throw me a strategy really quick that I can baseline use and then build off of. I love using AI a lot for that stuff. So I'm just saying it's not what people think. It's not a useless thing that's just Google basically and with a new name. There's a lot more to it. So that's all I'm going to say, because we can get into down the line with data centers and everything. And my opinion on that is probably completely different than everybody else's, because everybody else is super angry about it. But I'm not. I'm just going to stay out of it. It's a market. You guys everybody's got to understand, it's just the way markets work. There's a demand for data centers. Data centers are being built. When that demand is met, we'll stop building data centers, and that's the way it is. We've been told for 3 years now we got too much corn, too much soybeans in the world, and then we get mad when acres get taken out of production. There's only a few ways to solve our markets, and that's either taking land out of production or finding new crops. And it doesn't seem like there's anybody working on finding new crops to grow, so we're just going to have to keep having acres chewed away from us until we get to a point to where we're sustainable and good market numbers again. Here's that seal tool. You put it on the seal like so, and then you just use this to bend it out, or bend it like this. And it does that sometimes. It's like this. Get it bent up like that. And you can get it in. You're going to see some stress on some places, but it shouldn't break. This is the wrong size seal tool. I gotta go grab the smaller one. Don't get me wrong, that does still not go in easy with the tool. But this one though is in. And these ones don't come with a backing O-ring, and they take up the whole slot. So now we switch it around. The outside one has this big cone on it for cleaning the ram as it's sliding. So you got to just make sure you put that one on the outside.
Should drive out if you want to bring the planter in.
Okay. What, that?
Yeah.
Off the drive shaft? That's back on there. You should notice it's going to go on a lot harder than it came off. Now we've got this blue seal on the outside of this, as well as an O-ring on the inside. So back over to the seal bench. Now, once you have this slid back on, I recommend taking note on where this seal was in orientation-wise, because this has a smaller threshold of steel there than it does there when you take that off. This blue thing does not go on very easily because it is a stiff seal. It's not flexible in any way. Well, I guess it's kind of flexible because it's still got to get to where it's at. And then I ugga-dugga that a couple times with 3/4 inch impact. And now this half, more like 2/3, is done. So I'm gonna pop this off, which just comes off the same way. You basically just, I suppose I could probably show you. I need one of those benches that have a lip around it to catch all the oil. That would be pretty handy. So basically you just tap it off. You're fighting the resistance from an O-ring. You can see a gap forming there. So I need two hands so that I don't drop it and break something, but that's the gist of it. You just tap around and around and around and she eventually pops off. And there's this end. Just simple. It's an O-ring and probably a backer as well. And then I'm in trouble now though because I just ran out of brake cleaner and I don't see any more on the shelf. So we may have to run to town just for brake cleaner, which is kind of silly, but you need what you need. Can't put this thing back together all gunked up. So I'm gonna get these thrown on and then I guess we're running uptown for that unless I can scrounge up another can somewhere. There's the O-ring, round, got one in the kit. A little stiffer. It is still made out of rubber, I think, but you've got a square. Where's the camera? You got a square backing washer. I guess is what you'd call it. I don't know. Square plate goes on first. It goes on the outside. O-ring seals this. I don't know what this does, but it goes on there. So that's on there now. Make sure it's not twisted. Slide it to the back. I'm looking at the camera and not at the pick, and it's throwing me off. Slide into the back, slide into the back. There we go. And then you put the O-ring on. So I'll put back together. We're gonna run out, slap it on the drill, and that'll be it for that project. Should work flawlessly. I don't know what it is with this one. I'll mention it briefly because on the 4960, when you run this on there, you have to have the hoses in a specific order. And because it must be the tractor bleeding off, because you can have the drill all the way up and obviously it'll drift down. Part of that's this dripping, part of that might be the tractor. Because if you flip the hydraulic hoses the other way, that tractor, when you lower it and put full pressure on the drill as you're going across the field, the drill will slowly raise back up out of the ground. I'm guessing there is a pressure problem on the tractor on one side of the hydraulic remote, because it doesn't do that on anything else that I can think of, which we've only ran it on the 4440, and that's been a long time ago. But I don't know what that's about. If anybody has any experience with that, let me know. I'm not going to go tearing a tractor apart just for that, because the drill is the only thing it does that on. So maybe it was the cylinder, but I've never had noticed any issues with the planter or anything like that. As I was talking in the last clip, the freight truck rolled up. We've got our pallet of pesticide for the year. This is all herbicide, I should say. So we're going to unpack this real quick, get everything stacked up. I'll give guys a quick rundown of what we're running, but I'm going to break down our herbicide program when we're actually spraying and show you guys what we're doing and our plans. I ordered 20 gallons of 2,4-D. We had 15 gallons and a little more carryover. I'm going to move these three over here. It's a low volume chemical, so I can stack it in that nook there. Plus it's going to be the first thing gone in the spring, so we can get it out of here. This is generic Prefix. Prefix is a name brand. It's a Syngenta chemical. This is an off-brand version of that. So we've got 47.5 gallons of this. This is for our soybeans. Like I say, we'll go farther into that later. And then we've got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 gallons of generic Liberty. Liberty's the name brand. This is a generic glufosinate. Name brand Liberty has gotten really expensive. They came out with a new formula last year. I think was the first widespread year, and I used the old formula because they were selling out of that, and then the new formula was 30-40% more cost wise, so we did not end up using, we don't plan on using any real Liberty this year. We're going to use all generic if we need it. This is not, our old program hinged on this. This new program doesn't. And this is just here in case we got to clean up or in case there's something in the field when we spray what we plan on spraying. And our last chemical is atrazine. This comes in a dry or liquid form. I've always ran the liquid. I find I've never used the dry. I've just, anything that I can get liquid, I tend to lean that way just for ease of mixing and all that. So we've got 60 or 65 gallons here. We have a lot more of this year than what we normally do because this goes in the corn chemistry. The corn chemistry consists of atrazine and this stuff, Caprino. This stuff has gotten a little more expensive this year. There were some supply chain changes with that, not based on any of the current world issues, but just in general, the manufacturer was making some changes in that way. So I'm still getting that. That's going to be a local product though, not from these guys. Everything you see that I just showed you came from AgChem Solutions, Agricultural Chemical Solutions. So you can check them out if you want to. They are almost always the cheapest place to find chemistry. In fact, this year when I called him, he told me right off the bat, he goes, if I am not the cheapest person, tell me who is, and I will match your price or beat it. He goes, I want your business. And so I like when people talk like that. And they did that. They went above and beyond with price matching. They didn't just match, they beat. They made sure there was a margin on everything between them and the next closest competitor, which I appreciate. I've dealt with them for the last couple of years mainly because of that. So, yeah, that's it. We've got a little bit of Enlist to use up if we find this scenario where we can use it. I've had that sitting there for years. Armazon Pro, that's what we used to use instead of Caprino. That was a 15-ounce use rate, and then went to Caprino, which is a 3-ounce use rate, and haven't used that anymore. That was losing weed control in the last few years, but we could probably switch back and see good results again because we've worked through a couple generations of weeds. We'll see. If I have a field that comes out to the amount I have left, I'll use it up. We're gonna go put this pallet on the pallet stack for hay stacking, and then we'll get back in the shop. I forgot to mention I also bought, I think there's 3 gallons of Sharpen. We were using this to terminate cover crop as well as possibly terminate a hay field that we're taking out of production for hay. So I bought this for that. I gotta stack that up somewhere. Sharpen is really cheap and really low use rate. The only problem with it is it requires an MSO, like a crop oil sort of deal with it, which is expensive. The crop oil or the MSO is usually like $10 or $12 an acre, or that's what I found. Maybe it's 8 to 10. But Conklin has a soy-based product that's an MSO replacement, and that was like $2 or $3 an acre. So you're talking about like I think, if I remember right, you're talking about like a $4 or $5 pass, Sharpen and MSO. I'm pretty excited about that, to see how that works. I wanted to mention as well, I went by that wheat field by Dad's that we foliered on Monday. Today is Wednesday, and there is a noticeable difference. It is greener. There's still a hinge of yellow to it. That might be nitrogen starting to run out, but it is noticeably taller and noticeably bushier already, because you can barely see the in between the rows from the road now, which the wheat was that tall when we sprayed it, so it's not like it was covering rows or anything, but it's going. I think that PGR that we had in there is doing its job.